Thank you. You have one just here? And one over there. They can share that one. We don't want them to get too, chocolatey. All right. This is what it looks like. Here we have a folder for the ease of management. That's all the stuff that I look up after. It's called Micky's Stuff. And this folder, strangely enough, is called Trash Example. It's a page. That trash example is also linked up here under the home page. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take page 3 here, subpage 3, and I'm going to delete it. So I delete it, I wait for the hippo. Next page, I find that subpage 3 has vanished. Excellent. Then I get a phone call from the guys who look after the home page, and they say, we have a problem. Part of our content has vanished. Subpage 3 is gone. The reason for that is because the trash example page is linked, and that means that that page and everything underneath it, wherever that changes anywhere in the system, that same change is going to happen everywhere else. That's all right because that's the desired functionality. If you want to have it looking different in different places, you can't use linking because that's what linking is for. This can be a problem, however, when the place that we have it linked is in the trash. And if we're in the trash and we've got subpage 1 and subpage 2 and we purge subpage 2 from the trash because we don't want to run an enormous hippo that's going to take hours and delete trash example, and we want to break it down into little bits. Has anybody done this before? Okay, so we go beneath the asset that's the root node and we start purging from underneath that. Guess what happens? Oh, I didn't take a screenshot. What happens is you purge this little root node here, and all of a sudden everywhere else in the system, even though we just wanted to remove it from under home, it starts disappearing from other places as well. And that can cause problems. Usually it involves restoring from backup problems. Yeah, lots of work for us. That's why I'm telling you about this now. However, our developers are uber elite and very cool, and what they have done in 322.4 and 324.0 is they've introduced a new feature/check, and what happens is when you purge the trash, it checks that there's no other instances of this particular link elsewhere in the asset tree. And if there is, you can't purge the child asset from the trash. I didn't know this until I tried to do up a demo of what the screen looked like after I purged it, and it wouldn't work. So I can tell you I have tested this feature and it works. Rats! And then I had to look through all the bug tracker and find out where they'd fixed it. So those of you who've experienced problems with this in the past, call me, organise an upgrade. Those of you who haven't, be warned until you get your upgrade. A change introduced in 324.1. This is a really nifty change as well. And it's an aside. It's a little bit different to the issue that we're talking about, but it's related. And that is that, and this is straight from the changelog, on the linking screen you can actually tick a box and you can say this link from this asset to its parent is not allowed to be modified or manipulated, which means that you can get your site assets and you can tick the link that links them to the root and nobody can delete them by accident. I can see some people's eyes going, oh, very good. That's new in 324.1. Call me, organise an upgrade. Okay, next question. Why don't triggers and future status play nicely with workflow? Here are the problems, and one of these came up just last Wednesday when I was tossing up whether or not to include it. I've set a future status of live on an asset in Safe Edit. When I check later to make sure the changes have gone live, all of my changes are missing. They've gone. Second one, I've created a trigger to set an asset live on workflow approval so that manual intervention is not needed. We want to make it easy for our content editors and approvers. When the asset, well, this should be when the trigger fires. We don't want to burn our assets. When the trigger fires, I get warnings about invalid statuses and the asset stays in the approved to go live status. It doesn't go live. The trigger is broken. Oh my goodness, what do we do? Anybody got any ideas? There's two distinct Freddos here. Yes?
The first one, you can't go from safe edit to live. You've got to go from safe edit to approved to go live to live.
Yes, very good. So if you're a person who is working on an asset, you're working on it in safe edit, you've finally finished doing what you need to do to make sure that it's all good. When you set that future status trigger, before you do that, you need to go through the workflow and make sure that it's in approved to go live status before it tries to set it to live. Otherwise, what's the path here? We go from live, we put it into safe edit. From safe edit, the only way to go back to live is to reject the changes. So when you set up a future status that says go live, it says, okay, I'll reject the changes and we'll set it back to live. And then all your changes are gone, you have to do them again and everybody's unhappy. All right, back to the second problem. Anybody got any ideas? Miriam? Okay. All right, well, what we're seeing is we've got somebody is working on an asset, it's in safe edit. We've set up a trigger. It goes. The person finishes editing, it goes into safe edit pending approval. Person sets up a trigger so that when it's approved, the status is changed to live. So the trigger is on workflow approval.
Metadata.
Metadata! That's not it.
Is that close?
Yes, that will be an issue, but this is a tricky curly one that I just thought you would enjoy and came up last Wednesday. Not anything to do with privileges. You should tick the set permissions box though on the trigger. Would you like me to tell you? Or do you want to have one more guess? Okay, it's the way Matrix does things. It's very orderly. So what Matrix does is when somebody says, okay, we're going to approve this, it does exactly what this thing says. It says approval through workflow, and then it goes to safe edit approved. The workflow approval trigger fires here. So the trigger that says the event is workflow approval happens before the status of the asset is changed. If you want to set up a trigger that sets things live when they're approved, you don't use workflow approval as the trigger event. You use status changed and set the current status to safe edit approved to go live. That has caused consternation. And that's why when you approve it, you get a warning that says, I can't go live from the current status. It's because the current status is